myself, I'm not just gonna stand here and wait. I wanna just decide what is to be my fate. Alone all by myself, I'm not just gonna stay here and wait.
Good morning, everyone, from the beautiful Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I'm Jim Finch, and I'm about to take a 5-hour energy extra, as I'm going to be your host tonight as we delve into 4 all-new stories, then hit up a fast-forward flashback to July 9th, 2023. I know, we're supposed to be flashing to the day of 1 year ago today, but apparently the restraining order was still in place, so no flashing the past today. Yes, we'll flash the future of the past, to make my brain hurt even more. As you can see, I'm probably hanging out in chat. You can throw money at my feet to make me go away by clicking on the tip jar or putting out some ducats in any of our cash applications. But enough of that, I'm ready for some news. Remember, kids, when the news breaks, it's always news to me. GoFundMe, a new victor on Sunday? Ah, glorious GoFundMe, another rant about the secret conspiracies that run my world, and another day of victory as... Wait, I didn't win? What? How could this be? Someone actually got a donation? That can't be! Go through the list again, double check. Maybe this was one of those bogus, wasn't here for 3 days until it pops up in a random refresh entry. I mean, come on, we haven't had life anywhere else for so long, Well, honk my hooter and call me a cab. There was a $20 donation to Jose Chili DeCastro's Lawyer Fund only. All donations go to Lawyer Fund. But how can that be? That's the fund that he features on at the end of every Jailhouse Rock video. He never gives out the URL, of course, but that's the one that's on the screen for a few minutes. But nobody ever goes to that fund. They don't care. They've given up on the house that is DeCastro and have done the mid-2020s thing and taken up apathy and the grace of knowing sometime it's better not to help someone like DeCastro because he'll have oodles of money coming from his sugar daddies as soon as he shows off the major cool new moves he learned in the joint. Roy. Maybe it was Roy. Remember Roy? DeCastro's first cellmate as he was in jail quarantine for the first couple of days. The large black man who would sit on the toilet and poop as DeCastro hummed loudly, sticking his fingers in his ears, and thought about freedom. USA! 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 Plop. Roy was never mentioned again after the plop, so maybe he's out on the streets, putting together his last $20 in order to remember the brief love that they shared in the Clark County Detention Center. 2 men, 1 toilet, and the times they had together. Or maybe, just maybe, somebody saw the advertisement for the GoFundMe, figured out how to do a GoFundMe search, found the campaign, and gave DeCastro a $20 tip for being a big boy now. But he still beat us! I mean, grand conspiracy aside, our pride is lost now. We're spiraling. We need to up our game, make the newscasts even more insane, and then just maybe, Rose will stop staring at us like we're her long-lost Spice Girls tour jacket and not give in to her base instincts to sell us on the open market for a profit before we spiral into the valueless times of our mid-50s. And the man in Atlanta's mom will still not love him, but his vacuum mama, Ms. Desiree Hoover, will always have open arms and a cold, hard entryway for his hopes and dreams. Oh no, Jim, recover gracefully. Go back into the boring newsman voice and... The 5-hour energy is talking now! Just a reminder, if you'd like to keep us reporting news stories every day, we do have a GoFundMe of our own listed below. A grand conspiracy keeps us writing this article every day, and you too can participate in it. All proceeds go to keeping the lights on, eating, and writing new stories to feature here and on ReallyCoolSite.org. That's ReallyCoolSite.org. DeCastro poops on the pooper. Jose Chile DeCastro's July 7, 2024 broadcast from the Clark County Detention Center focused on his pending appeal hearing for his conviction of obstructing an officer and interfering in a traffic stop, and, of course, how he learned to poop on a pooper while in jail. DeCastro's strange obsession with bathroom talk took over the latter part of the broadcast as he announced that he has learned to defecate in front of others and often enjoys saying hello to his fellow prisoner as he poops on the pooper while sharing his views on the world. Previously, DeCastro explained when in public he would get pee-shy around others. In at least one case, he was out at a public event in a line for a urinal. When it came time for him to turn to expose himself to the urinal and urinate, he couldn't. He said he would stand there and nothing would happen, so he'd re-zip and leave, hopefully washing his hands, and come back at a time when there weren't so many people around to watch him manipulate himself into urinating. The YouTuber stated that while in prison there's no chance to be pee-shy, as the guards told you when it was time to use the bathroom. If you didn't comply and you didn't poop in the pooper and pee in the peer, you'd cause yourself all sorts of problems. So DeCastro claimed that he's learned to poop in front of people, often sharing a bench with up to 2 other men as they defecate in the jail bathroom, experiencing freedom in their own unique ways. DeCastro's other subjects of the night were his upcoming release and his pending appeal on Wednesday. The YouTuber seemed overjoyed that he would be in court again, this time with an ironclad appeal, as none of his previous statements that he got arrested on purpose for a payout or that he intended to obstruct an officer would ever be used in court against him. Briefly doubting himself, DeCastro said that even if he lost the appeal, he'd then appeal to the Nevada State Supreme Court to prove that the system was unjust and that the case law says exactly what he thinks it says, that he's an innocent man, and surely the state Supreme Court had to see that. Plus, he claimed to be set for release by July 22nd, 23rd, or 24th, and would be out on the streets of Las Vegas in the next 2 weeks anyway. Focusing on the future, DeCastro has previously stated that he would start filing lawsuits against corrupt Justice of the Peace Ann Zimmerman and the court system as soon as he tasted freedom. DeCastro's appeal is set for Wednesday, July 10th, 2024. "1A and Friends Court Updates." Several famous members of the 1A auditing community and those tangentially associated with the community have court this week. Auditor Craig Hendry's legal troubles top our updates this week, as 2 of his ongoing criminal cases from Greene County, Indiana, had hearings last week. On Tuesday, July 2nd, 2024, he had a hearing on charges of resisting law enforcement, obstruction, and unlawful encroachment from a March 14th, 2024 incident with a police officer. In that incident, he shined a flashlight at the officer and then was found to be 23 feet away from that officer when he asked Hendry to step back 25 feet. Hendry had gotten in his face and said he was exactly 25 feet and dared the officer to measure. The officer measured at 23 feet and Hendry was charged. In that case, the judge took Hendry's motion for summary judgment as a request to dismiss the case. She gave both sides 30 days to submit briefs to the court. Then she would take the briefs under advisement. The judge also set a pretrial conference for September 4th, 2024. That same court handled Hendry's hearing on the second case in Greene County, which is tried at the same time as the above case. In that case, Hendry is accused of making a false complaint against a law enforcement officer, which stems from an incident at a city council meeting where Hendry claimed police entered his house with a warrant when he wasn't home and otherwise acted illegally. A hearing was also scheduled for July 2nd, 2024 for that one to be held after the previous hearing, but was then rescheduled to September 4th, 2024. Aiden Turtleboy Kearney has 2 court appearances this week, both on July 11th, 2024. Kearney is due in court for a pretrial hearing in Dedham, Massachusetts at 9 a.m. on July 11th for charges of violating an abuse prevention order against ex-girlfriend Lindsay Gaetini. It's a misdemeanor charge that will carry over 100 days of incarceration if he is found guilty. His next hearing for felony witness intimidation, felony conspiracy, and misdemeanor picketing will be heard also in Dedham, Massachusetts on July 11, 2024 at 2 p.m. Eastern. Neither case is expected to be publicly televised. Masshole Troll Mafia leader Kate Peter is also expected in Dedham today for charges of violation of a harassment protection order. The charges carry a punishment of under 100 days incarceration. The hearing is listed as an arraignment session for discovery, compliance, and jury election. It is not expected to be televised. Peter's next pretrial hearing for felony witness intimidation charges is also in Dedham on July 30th, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. Finally, Jose Chile DeCastro set to be in Las Vegas for his appeals hearing on Wednesday, July 10th, 2024, and that is his appeal of his conviction on interference in a traffic stop and obstructing an officer. The hearing is expected to be carried live on our Nevada Judge's YouTube channel. Future Jim here, updating a tidbit from our last story. Masshole Troll Mafia leader Kate Peters' hearing for ongoing charges of felony witness intimidation was indeed held today. The court listing says her motion for funding for an investigator was allowed. The next hearing in the case was also scheduled for August 26, 2024. DeCastro YouTube fan deletes content. Fans of the Joel MLM YouTube channel were in for a shock as the wannabe disciple of Jose Chile DeCastro posted an update that everyone failed to view on Saturday, then privated all content on his channel on Sunday. Joel MLM had become the subject of many a YouTube reaction video last week when he flipped off a state trooper and then was pulled over for having tinted taillights and using an improper hand signal. The wannabe DeCastro admitted to the trooper that he wasn't using hand signals, but was instead flipping the officer off as he stuck his arm out of the window. He later used the same gesture to alert the officer that he had found his updated insurance information. While the trooper went to write up the ticket, Joel MLM pulled out a copy of Jose Chile DeCastro's indestructible trifold and claimed that the trooper was a tyrant. He also pulled up his shirt to show his flabby stomach and that he wasn't armed. He then went into a long rant that his stop was retaliatory as the trooper saw that he was being flipped off and there was no law against having tinted taillights. He promised that he'd beat the charges in court. When the officer returned, the YouTuber was handed copies of the law, his ticket, along with a news article that explained the law. The trooper also reminded Joel MLM to sign his registration, which could be another $150 fine should he fail to do so in the future. As the officer returned to his car, Joel MLM screamed at him that he wanted his name and badge number. The officer didn't hear his demand over the noise of the highway and left the scene as the YouTuber continued his thoughts on conspiracy and corruption in the police department. The video went viral in the 1A reaction community over the past week with multiple reaction videos to the brashness and stupidity of the YouTuber. This apparently resulted in another video explaining his actions and updating his situation that was removed before anyone could do a reaction video of it, which is probably for the best due to the mocking he continues to receive as his original video continues to circulate. We'll continue to monitor his channel and report if and when he releases a new update. Flashback, July 9th, 2023. Direct D accuses state of bias. Wanted fugitive Christopher Direct D. Ruff livestreamed from a new location on Saturday in order to interview a man named Derek Nelson, who claimed that he could prove the state of Arizona was actively disqualifying good people from being hired in the police force and police-related jobs in the state government. Appearing dirty and disheveled and sitting outside of an apparently dilapidated trailer, Ruff interviewed Nelson about these accusations, stating that as a good person himself, Ruff would be disqualified from working for the state. Nelson's story began with Nelson seeing an online advertisement for a safety intelligence analyst position for the Arizona Department of Public Safety. After an application led to a series of tests, Nelson claims he was offered the job pending passing a polygraph test. On the day of the polygraph examination, Nelson arrived drinking a coffee, and the polygraph administrator, identified as Dan Caputo, berated him for drinking coffee before the examination. Coffee is listed as a stimulant and is normally listed as a prohibited substance for consumption before taking a polygraph test, as it can impact the body's reactions to the polygraph. Nelson also accused Caputo of being a pervert, as the vast majority of questions Nelson was allegedly asked centered around Nelson's sex life and around questions pertaining to sexual activities and interactions with minors. Nelson became upset at repeated questions surrounding sexual touching of a sleeping partner and open-mouth kissing of a minor. As the test concluded, Nelson claimed that Caputo yelled at him and made a snide comment to take his coffee with him as he left the room. This interaction, according to Nelson, led to his diagnosis of post-traumatic stress disorder. Nelson then described Caputo as a child molester and pedophile, and that complaints about Caputo's alleged behavior were ignored, as he reported Caputo individually to his direct superior, Police Internal Affairs, and the Director of Arizona's Public Safety Division. Ruff, complaining that his limited attention span was making it hard to focus, wrapped up the interview in a little over an hour and proclaimed that it was proof that good people were being prevented from working for the state of Arizona. Christopher Direct D. Ruff currently has a warrant for his arrest in Maricopa County, Arizona, after skipping a court hearing on Thursday. Well, hide my hiney and call me a liquor cabinet. Then there was some mighty fine stories. Pooping in a pooper, the Delete Laws kid goes private, Pope Phil II is in debt to the Vestal Virgins for how much? Plus, Hank has all those court cases today and tomorrow. Oh, the days of recording these before I know what I'd be recording are here. Ah, yes, this is our second official pre-recorded stream. That's right, kids. It's about quality with a capital K. That's right, we'll be making these things the best they can be every day for as long as we don't get a real job. Oh, Heidi-ho, and hit me with a banana and the splits. Yowza and vroom vroom to the special pal in Hotlanta, who is checking his biscuits right now. We'll be right back at you tomorrow for our regularly scheduled madness at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, followed by our trip to France at 8 p.m. Eastern. Be there or be sugarfied.